I've never dated somebody so kind. Like, this is my first relationship where I've ever been with somebody who's genuinely a nice person. He makes me genuinely happy. Like, I just never dated somebody like him before.
They looked like the perfect couple. But behind the luxury trips, red carpets, and family dinners was a story nobody saw coming. Megan Thee Stallion, one of the most confident, outspoken women in the game, just flipped the internet upside down after allegedly exposing Klay Thompson for cheating, and not just once, but for months. What started as a relationship that looked like endgame energy has now turned into a public heartbreak unfolding in real time. Megan didn't just hint at betrayal, she came straight out with emotional, explosive accusations that paint a completely different picture of the man fans thought they knew. She says she was playing house with his family, holding him down through mood swings, basketball pressure, and private struggles, only to find out she wasn't the only one in his life. And now the internet is in chaos. How did things go from luxury gifts, emotional songs, and family approval to cheating rumors, leaked messages, and a sudden breakup statement? Was this love, or was it a carefully built illusion that finally collapsed under its own weight? Because the deeper you go into this story, the messier it gets. Blind items, alleged side relationships, and old rumors are all resurfacing, making fans question whether the signs were there from day one, and everyone just ignored them. And the biggest shock? Megan didn't just walk away quietly. She made it clear trust, loyalty, and respect are non-negotiable, and once those are gone, there's no turning back. So now one question is taking over the internet. Did Klay Thompson really fumble the one woman who was fully loyal to him, or was this breakup inevitable from the very beginning? Let's break it all down. The internet didn't even have time to process the post before it exploded everywhere. Screenshots started circulating within minutes. Reactions started pouring in faster than anyone could refresh their feed. And suddenly, what looked like a private relationship between two celebrities turned into a full-blown public investigation being conducted by millions of people online. Because once Megan Thee Stallion's alleged statement hit social media, the entire narrative shifted. At first, fans thought it might be a misunderstanding, maybe a heated argument, maybe something taken out of context. But the tone of the messages circulating online told a different story, one filled with emotion, disappointment, and a sense of betrayal that fans immediately picked up on. And when someone like Megan speaks in that tone, people don't just scroll past it. They stop, they listen, and they analyze everything. What made this situation even more intense was the image fans already had of this relationship. From the outside, it looked like everything was moving fast, but in a good way. Luxury vacations, public appearances, family involvement, even moments where both of them seemed completely locked in, like they had already built something stable and long-term. That's why this switch hit so hard, because people weren't just reacting to a breakup. They were reacting to a collapse of an entire perfect relationship storyline they had believed in. And in the age of social media, perception is everything. Once that perception breaks, the internet doesn't wait for confirmation, they start filling in the gaps themselves. Old clips resurfaced. Past posts were re-examined. Fans began pointing out moments that, at the time, looked normal, but now were being interpreted as signs that something was wrong behind the scenes. That's how fast narratives shift online. One moment, it's relationship goals. Next moment, it's we saw this coming. But behind all of that noise, something more important was happening. The conversation wasn't just about whether the allegations were true or false anymore. It became about trust. Because the way the situation was being framed online suggested something deeper than just a breakup. It suggested emotional investment, commitment, and then a sudden disconnect that left one side feeling blindsided. And that's where the emotional weight of the story really starts to build. Fans began debating both sides heavily. Some people defended Megan instantly, saying she had been through enough publicly and didn't deserve another situation like this. Others argued that social media never tells the full truth and that relationships, especially high-profile ones, are far more complicated behind closed doors. But the internet doesn't like uncertainty. It fills silence with theories. And in this case, the theories got louder than the facts. One of the biggest talking points came from how quickly the situation escalated. According to online discussions, there were already whispers and blind item-style rumors circulating before anything was ever publicly addressed. These rumors weren't new. They had been floating in the background of celebrity gossip spaces for weeks. But now, they were being reinterpreted as proof of what fans believed was happening all along. That's how online narratives evolve. A vague rumor becomes a pattern becomes evidence, and evidence becomes confirmation in the eyes of the public. Meanwhile, supporters of Klay Thompson pushed back just as strongly, arguing that people were rushing to conclusions without any verified details. They pointed out that relationships in the spotlight often get exaggerated, misunderstood, or completely misrepresented by social media culture. And they're not wrong either. Because once a story reaches this level of virality, truth becomes the hardest thing to separate from emotion. Every fan, every viewer, every commentator starts projecting their own perspective onto the situation. But what makes this case different is the emotional connection people already had to the couple. This wasn't just another celebrity relationship. This was one that people genuinely believed in. They saw chemistry. They saw growth. They saw two successful individuals trying to build something together despite the pressure of fame, schedules, and public attention. That's why the reaction feels so intense. Because when people invest emotionally in a narrative, they don't just react to its ending, they react like they were part of it. And now, that emotional investment is turning into disappointment, anger, confusion, and endless debate. As the story continues to circulate, one thing becomes very clear. This isn't just about what allegedly happened between two people. It's about how quickly public perception can shift when private relationships become public content. And in the middle of all of this, both names are now permanently attached to a conversation that is growing bigger than them. Because whether the allegations are true, exaggerated, or somewhere in between, the internet has already made its decision to turn this into a full-scale narrative. And this is only the beginning. The moment this situation hit peak virality, something interesting started happening across social media timelines. It stopped being just about two celebrities, and started turning into a full internet-wide debate about relationships, trust, and how quickly public opinion can shift without verified information. Because once a story reaches this level, people don't just consume it, they start building entire narratives around it. Clips get re-uploaded with new captions. Old posts suddenly get new meanings. Even harmless moments from the past start getting analyzed like hidden clues. And that's exactly what happened here. Every interaction between Megan Thee Stallion and Klay Thompson was suddenly being revisited under a different lens. Fans began breaking down timelines, appearances, and public moments trying to figure out where things might have gone wrong. But what most people forget in situations like this is simple. Social media does not operate on full context. It operates on fragments. A caption here, a post there, a reaction somewhere in between. And from those fragments, entire stories are constructed, whether they're accurate or not. At the same time, another layer started forming under the surface of this conversation: emotional alignment. People naturally began choosing sides. Some viewers fully aligned with Megan, focusing on her emotional expression, her public vulnerability, and her history of dealing with very public relationship challenges. In their eyes, she represented someone who had been through enough and deserved stability. Others pushed back, arguing that celebrity relationships are constantly misunderstood and that what looks like drama online is often far more complicated in reality. And both perspectives exist because the truth is rarely as simple as the internet wants it to be. But what made this situation spread even faster was the way fans emotionally connected to the idea of this relationship. From the outside, it wasn't just seen as two individuals dating. It was seen as a healing narrative. A story where someone who had experienced public heartbreak before was finally in a situation that looked stable, supportive, and low drama. So when the tone shifted, it didn't just feel like a breakup. It felt like a narrative collapse. That's why reactions became so extreme. People weren't just reacting to what they believed happened. They were reacting to what they hoped the relationship represented. And when expectations are high, Disappointment spreads faster than facts. Meanwhile, online commentary began evolving into full breakdown threads, with users analyzing everything from timing to body language in old appearances. Some claimed there were signs that things weren't as perfect as they seemed. Others dismissed all of it as hindsight bias, people rewriting the past after the outcome is known. This back and forth created a cycle where the conversation kept feeding itself. The more people debated, the more viral the topic became. And the more viral it became, the more people felt the need to contribute their opinion, even without any real information. That's how modern celebrity narratives evolve now. Not through official statements alone, but through collective interpretation. At the center of all this, the emotional tone of the situation remained the strongest driving force. Because whether people believed the claims or not, they could relate to the feeling being discussed. Trust, miscommunication, emotional investment, disappointment. These are universal themes. And that's why the stories spread beyond just entertainment pages and into general discussion spaces. But as the noise grew louder, something else became noticeable too. The lack of clarity. No fully verified timeline. No confirmed details. No direct, detailed public breakdown from either side explaining everything point by point. Just fragments. And fragments are exactly what fuel speculation. In situations like this, silence is never empty. Silence gets interpreted. And every interpretation creates another layer of narrative. Some viewers saw silence as confirmation. Others saw it as privacy. Others saw it as strategic communication control. But the truth is, silence doesn't answer anything, it just leaves space for assumptions. And on the internet, assumptions rarely stay small. They grow. They multiply. They evolve into what-if scenarios that feel real because they are repeated enough times. Another interesting layer in this situation is how quickly public sympathy shifts in celebrity culture. A person can go from being admired, supported, and celebrated to being heavily criticized or defended depending on how the story is framed at a given moment. That's why narratives like this feel unstable. They're constantly being rewritten in real time. Every new post, every reaction video, every tweet adds another angle. And none of them are the full picture. As the discussion continued, the focus also started shifting toward a bigger question that fans kept circling back to. Why do high-profile relationships so often become public controversies instead of private resolutions? Part of it is visibility. When your life exists in the public eye, even private moments can become content. And part of it is expectation. Fans feel invested in celebrity relationships the same way they invest in stories, characters, and outcomes. So when things change unexpectedly, it feels personal, even though it isn't. And that emotional overlap is what keeps stories like this trending far longer than the actual facts might justify. By the end of this wave of reactions, one thing becomes clear. This situation is no longer just about what happened between two people. It has become a case study in modern digital storytelling. How quickly narratives form, how fast opinions spread, and how easily perception can become the dominant version of reality online. And as the internet continues to dissect every detail, one question still remains hanging in the background. How much of what people believe is actually based on truth, and how much is shaped by collective assumption? Because in today's world, the line between the two is thinner than ever. As the conversation reaches its peak online, something very important starts to happen in the background of all this noise. The story begins to split into two different realities. In one version, people are fully convinced they understand what happened. They've built timelines, connected dots, and formed emotional conclusions based on posts, rumors, and interpretations floating across social media. But in the other version, the one that rarely trends, there is still uncertainty. Still missing context. Still unanswered questions that don't get solved by screenshots or viral posts. And that gap between the two versions is exactly where modern celebrity culture lives. Because the truth is no longer just about what actually happened. It's about what people believe happened. And once belief becomes strong enough, it starts to behave like fact in the public space. That's why situations like this don't just stay as relationship news anymore. They turn into full-scale media narratives. Every platform adds its own layer. Commentary channels break it down emotionally. Fans dissect it analytically. Others turn it into humor, memes, or hot takes. And somewhere in between all of that, the original situation becomes almost unrecognizable. What started as a personal matter is now a public storyline that everyone feels they are part of. And that's where things get complicated. Because when millions of people are involved in shaping a narrative, the original people at the center of it lose control of how their story is being told. They are no longer just individuals in a relationship. They become characters in a collective internet script. And every new post, reaction, or rumor adds another scene to that script, whether accurate or not. At this point in the story, the emotional energy online is divided. Some people are focused on accountability, believing that public figures should always be transparent when relationships end under controversy. Others are focused on privacy, arguing that not every detail of a breakup needs to be turned into public entertainment. And both sides believe they are right, because both sides are reacting from emotion, not full information. That's the reality of viral situations like this. Nobody is working with the complete picture. Everyone is working with fragments. And fragments, when repeated enough times, start to feel like truth. Meanwhile, the internet moves on its own timeline. What feels like a major emotional moment today becomes yesterday's topic in a matter of days. New trends replace old ones. New controversies take attention. And the cycle continues. But even when the hype dies down, the narrative doesn't completely disappear. It lingers. It gets referenced. It gets reshared. It becomes part of the public memory of both names involved. And that is one of the biggest consequences of living life in the spotlight. Nothing truly ends cleanly. Every moment leaves a digital footprint that can be revisited, reinterpreted, and re-argued at any time. As this situation continues to circulate, one deeper question becomes more important than the story itself. Why do people invest so heavily in relationships they are not part of? Part of it is entertainment culture. People follow celebrities the same way they follow series or storylines. Part of it is emotional projection. People relate personal experiences to public figures and react through that lens. And part of it is simply the speed of the internet, where reactions are instant and reflection comes later, if at all. But in the middle of all of that, it's easy to forget something basic. At the center of every viral story are real people dealing with real emotions, outside of the comment sections, outside of the headlines, and outside of the narratives being built around them. And while the internet continues to debate, analyze, and speculate, life for them continues beyond the screen, away from the noise, away from the commentary, and away from the version of events being shaped online. That's what often gets lost in viral moments like this. The humanity behind the headlines. So as this story continues to circulate and evolve, the only thing that remains certain is uncertainty itself. Because online narratives can grow fast, spread wide, and feel absolute. But they're rarely complete. And sometimes, the loudest version of a story is not the most accurate one, it's just the most amplified. So now the real question shifts away from the situation itself, and becomes about us as viewers. How we consume these stories, how we react to them, and how quickly we turn fragments into conclusions. Because in the end, every viral moment says just as much about the audience as it does about the people involved in it. So now I really want to hear from you, because this situation has the internet completely split down the middle. On one side, people are saying this is just another example of a high-profile relationship falling apart under pressure, rumors, and miscommunication. On the other side, fans believe there's more to the story, something deeper that the public doesn't fully understand yet. But the real question is simple. What do you think actually happened here? Do you believe this was a case of genuine betrayal and broken trust, or is this just another situation where social media ran too fast with assumptions before the full truth came out? Because in today's world, we've seen it over and over again. One post goes viral, one rumor spreads, and suddenly an entire narrative gets built in hours without any confirmed details. And that's exactly why your opinion matters here. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, but keep it real. No fan bias. No emotional takes, just your honest perspective on how you see this situation unfolding. Also, let me ask you something deeper. Do you think relationships in the spotlight even stand a fair chance anymore? Or does fame automatically turn every private issue into public entertainment the moment things go wrong? Because that's what this story really highlights. It's not just about two names trending online. It's about how fast trust, perception, and reputation can shift when millions of people start watching, judging, and reacting in real time. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more deep dives like this where we cut through the noise and actually break down what's happening behind viral stories, make sure you hit that like button.